Isaac Dickey 17 requested that I do a video on the Israel-Iran conflict. Now, this video is not going to be political by any stretch of the imagination, but I am going to be going over the conflict and then going over my take at the end with a non-political point of view. With that being said, I do have to pay a disclaimer at the beginning that Palestine is a stateless nation, meaning that it is a group of ethnic people that do not have their own state, and that Palestine is not recognized as a state by the United Nations. With that out of the way, what is the Israel-Iran conflict? Very simply, it is a conflict between Israel and Iran. But why do they not like each other? Well, this all starts back with a trip in 1949 with the Iranian president. The Iranian president took a trip to Israel where he met the Palestinian refugees that lived in Israel. And he was remarked on saying that the living conditions of the Palestine immigrants and refugees were not too terribly the best. So obviously he wanted to raise money for them and, kind of help them out. So obviously he would begin to do this. But obviously, Israel did not appreciate this for one reason or another. Again, this video is not political. I'm going to get into it on the reason why. Obviously, you can think about rebellion, think about breaking off or whatever. So obviously, Israel did not appreciate this. And then, so tensions started to grow. Not necessarily physical, but, there was tensions there that started to arise after the Iranian president did this. And then it would start to get to a point to where they just did not like each other. So obviously, now we have got to the point where they do not like each other. So now that we've established why they do not like each other, where does the conflict part come in? Well, they don't like each other so much that basically what started happening is they started funding terrorists in each other's nations. So this is a very simple concept that I'm going to try to simplify even further. So for example, Iran does not like Israel, okay? There's certain terrorist organizations inside of Israel that also do not like Israel, such as Hamas and other Palestinian terrorist organizations that are labeled as terrorist organizations. And Iran would fund these terrorist organizations because they don't like Israel. So yes, Iran would fund these, and obviously if Israel finds out that you're funding a terrorist organization that they're actively fighting against, well, we're not going to be on the best terms. And this would go for the same as Israel. Israel would fund terrorist organizations that did not like Iran, such as like Iranian rebels and stuff like that. So yes, they're both funding terrorist organizations for each other, if that makes sense. Terrorist organizations for the other side that did not like the government, and these countries would fund them. So now that we've got that out the way, the conflict actually between the two countries physically did not happen until 2018, where an Iranian group attacked, an Israel group attacked an Iranian group, like physical contact, no proxy wars, like full-on attack, one side to the other. This was in 2018, and this only escalated, obviously, the conflict into more funding from terrorist organizations, bomb raids from both sides, I believe, and of course, just the conflict that we're aware of today. So, with this being said, what is my take on it? I'm sure Isaac Dickey not just want a history lesson on this. I'm sure Isaac Dickey wanted to hear the one and only's opinion. Well, my opinion is, obviously, people are not going to want to give up land. The two-state compromise, sort of speak, implies that Israel should give up some of its land to make Palestine. Now, obviously, Israel is already a very small country and a region that has some very large countries, so you're not going to get Israel to give up its land. Not to mention, the UN actually had to come in force, did this back in 1900s, forced Israel to become a state through conflict. So yeah, you're not going to get state to give up its own land. Obviously, no one wants to give up land. People only want to expand land. So with that being out the way, the only way you're going to get Israel to give up a two-state compromise is obviously by forcing it through conflict. And while obviously the opinion is, do I think that there should be a two-state compromise? The thing is that this is just promoting violence. That's the only thing that it's got something compared to the Cold War, except there's actual conflict between the two states. It's not just no longer proxy wars. With that being said, I don't think this war is actually accomplishing anything. As I said, it's just meaningless violence. Quite literally, you're not going to get Israel to make Palestine a state. Not all of the United Nations are going to identify Palestine as a state, so you're never going to get it all the way there to a state without conflict. Because even if they do recognize it, Israel's not going to make it a state. They'll just keep it under its protectful watch. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I don't know. But the point of the matter is, honestly, you should just do migrations, immigrations, refugee seekers, or whatever. Obviously, some people can't leave. You want your own state and all of that, but you're not going to get it sometimes. That's just the truth of the matter. With that being said, that's about it for today. Stay safe and stay hydrated.